Hey guys, Mr. Halpin here. Sorry, Miss Hall jumped the gun a little bit there. I'm laughing now. Guys, so we're excited to be able to bring back another edition of these videos. This one's going to be specifically covering Chapter 16 and the types of government.
Exactly. And just letting you know, we have decided that, yes, today we provided you the whole study guide, but we're going to break this down into chunks. Mm-hmm. So if you notice on page 1, the whole page is going to be chunk 1. So if you want to put a 1 on that page, and if you notice there's a line at the bottom, that's showing you that that's the end of chunk 1. If you turn to the next page at the top where it says the nations and its regions, that's chunk 2. You see the line. Then the bottom half is chunk 3, where it says the executive and the legislature. Mm-hmm. Page 3 and 4 is going to be chunk 4. Okay, so we are actually going to just go over chunk 1 today. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to take this chapter slowly. It's going to take us about a month. Mm-hmm. So here we go.
All right, guys. So let's start off with that top box, which is marked vocab. So if you guys look, there are some vocab words that are specific to chunk 1 that we are going to be going over today. Those words are monarchy, absolute monarchy, divine right, constitutional monarchy, democracy, direct democracy, representative democracy, autocracy, and oligarchy. Those, again, are those words from chunk 1, and we are going to go into detail for all you guys. All right, let's quickly go over the government. So a government is just an organization that makes rules for the community. These are used to organize work, land ownership, settle disputes, and provide defense. Now, we've already went over in this class the specific purpose of our own government, which is stated in our preamble. So again, let's just review it really quick. The purpose of our government is to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to promote the general welfare, to promote individual liberties, and to defend the community. So again, that is the purpose of our own government.
And of course, we can basically see there's a lot of classifications or types of governments. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they blend into each other. Mm-hmm. Like you may have a country like Norway where people assume Bernie Sanders will want to use them as an example of a socialist country. But their leaders will be the first to tell you we are not socialist. Now, they may have some components, but it's not a true socialist country. If you want to see a true socialist country, look at Venezuela. Mm-hmm. Okay?
So what we're going to talk about, guys, is who holds that power. So first of all, let's just go over a general term, which is known as monarchy. Now, what a monarchy is, you're going to hear the term king, queen, emperor, empress. There is one person who usually holds the majority of the power, and I'll say that really happens in absolute monarchy. However, again, those are those central figureheads.
Okay, right. So, absolute monarchy is going to be a country where, when you see that word absolute, that is not a good thing. Not when it comes to governments. So, absolute monarchy is where you've got a king in power, like Saudi Arabia, and he gets to make all of the decisions, every one of them. The people have no say in it. Okay.
Now, what they're going to do to claim the reason they have that right, they're going to say divine right. And that just means they were chosen by God. And you can't really argue against that because nobody knows exactly what God is thinking. Sorry, this accidentally spit off his hole. You can't exactly argue with God's thinking. So again, that's what the rulers are going to claim. They're going to say they were chosen by God, and they don't have to hold themselves accountable to people. The only person they have to hold themselves accountable to is God.
Right. And so, again, absolute monarchy, that king will usually fall right under that term dictator as well. Okay? Now, when you see a government style that has the word constitution or constitutional in it, that's usually a good thing because we know from our Constitution that it's a document that typically will give people rights and will actually limit the government. Now, in this constitutional monarchy, such as Great Britain, you're going to see where you have a king and, well, really a queen, but she really has no power. She's just more, what is it?
It's a ceremonial.
Ceremonial.
So basically, they still have that central figurehead, like we said in the word monarchy. However, they don't really own the majority of the power. Their role is very, very limited in what they actually do. Again, the
Right.
majority of the power belongs to the parliament in constitutional monarchy.
Right. And of course, they will have a leader as well.
Mm-hmm. Prime Minister.
Yeah. Sorry, my mind has gone blank.
Mm-hmm.
A prime minister is basically going to be their president,
Mhm.
just like their parliament is our Congress.
Exactly
Okay?
right. So let's break down into our next term, our next general term, which is democracy. And when you hear that word democracy, what it usually means is that the people have the power. Now, this is a term that originated in ancient Greece, and the government originated in ancient Greece. Let's just break down the word, though. So again, right here, we have the word demos, which means people. And then we have the words kratos, which means power. So the people have the power.
Okay. So let's talk about, now that we have that concept of democracy itself, now let's break it down a little bit more. One of the earliest types of democracy was direct democracy.
Mm-hmm.
But that really only works with a very small population, because a direct democracy is where everyone is directly involved. They're voting on everything. Once the populations get too big, though, that's really not feasible. It's not easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when representative democracies started popping up, which is what we use as far as our democracy style. But technically, if you notice, it says that we're known as a republic. Now, we know in our Constitution, and you know this, that the Constitution says nothing about a democracy. It says we are a republic. In today's definition and terms, if you look anywhere, they'll usually say that a democracy and a republic are the same exact thing, and that's not necessarily the case. In a republic, basically rule of law applies to everyone, of course. Not saying in a direct or in a democracy it doesn't, but law is law, and just because the majority wants to change it, that's not really
feasible. It can't.
feasible.
It's not going to happen.
In other words, let me give you an example. With a republic, if it's against the law to steal the bicycle, then it doesn't matter how many people want to steal a bicycle. The bicycle is illegal. You can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
In a democracy, what people will often call it is a mobocracy, because the majority rules. Okay, so that means if the majority wants to make it okay to steal that bicycle, then it can be stolen. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's move on to our next two terms while I try to scroll on down. Sorry, class, I'm struggling. So right now we have autocracy and oligarchy. Now, when we say these terms, we want you to think umbrella terms, because the truth is these two terms right here, they can apply to a variety of different government styles. So let's go over that first one. First of all, auto literally means one. So again, when we talk about autocracy right here, we're talking about a government where one person holds the majority of the power. Now, this is already a type of government that we went over in this video. When we talked about absolute monarchy, we talked about one person holding the majority of the power. So again, that would fall under that umbrella of autocracy. Also, you can fall in this in dictators. So again, Hitler, Stalin, these people were autocracy because they had the majority of the power and they ruled by fear.
Definitely, definitely. So, like you said, that absolute monarchy falls under the autocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look at oligarchy, oli means few. So oligarchy is referring to the number of people in control of the country. Now, let me give you an example of this. Oh, we do mention it. In a theocracy, people are ruled by a few religious people. Mm-hmm. And Iran is definitely an example of this.
Mm-hmm.
They run things very strict, and there's always a religious base to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
guys, that's really chunk one right there. I feel we went over everything very well, but again, just a quick review of it. Again, you have your word monarchy, which is just king or queen. Another part that falls into that, really the two parts, is absolute monarchy, which means one person has all the power. Then you have constitutional monarchy, which means the king or queen are more ceremonial. They're just really the figureheads there. Then you have democracy, which means, again, the people hold the majority of the power. Direct democracy, as Ms. Hall already went over, was just where people vote on all the decisions. Representative democracy is where we select those people to represent us. Autocracy and oligarchy, those are our umbrella terms. Autocracy is just a type of government where one person holds the power. Again, there are tons of different kinds of governments that fall under this. Absolute monarchy was one we talked about. Dictators, one we talked about. Next, we have oligarchy, which means ruled by the few. And again, the example that Ms. Hall gave would be Iran, and usually these governments, they have a religious sector to them. Did I miss anything there, or did I get everything pretty well?
Good.
All right, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. Tune back in for Chunk 2, which is coming soon.